Welcome to Easy Gates TRB Polytechnic Triple E paper solutions. So let me continue with the next problem. In fact, the last problem only, I'll show you a different way. You'll be very comfortable with this route. You may feel very comfortable. Okay, in order to know the block diagram reduction technique, suppose if you forget them in the examination, this route will help you. Okay, so in order to know block diagram reduction technique, in order to know the SFG's gain formula, still you can answer this kind of problems. Okay, so we'll see what is that method. That's a common sense route, very common sense route. Okay, how we will go, we'll see. So ultimately the goal is to find y by r. Okay, so let me play with y and r. So let me use small letters. This is my y and this is my r. Will play conveniently. So ultimately the goal is y as a function of r, to find y as a function of r. So this is y means this is also y. Then the signal is going to be r minus y. That's a signal. So r minus y is the input to 2. So therefore it is going to be 2 times r minus y. And this signal r minus y into 4 by s. So r minus y into 4 by s. And these two signals are getting added here. So what will be the signal? The signal will be 2 times r minus y plus, okay, 4 by s times r minus y. Okay, these two are the signal that is getting integrated and producing the output y. So straight away now I can write y like this. So what's my y now? What is my y now? Y is equal to the two signals getting added here is getting integrated, that is into 1 by s. So 2 times r minus y plus 4 by s into r minus y. Okay, so is getting integrated into 1 by yes, that's your y. So you got the desired equation as a function of y and r. Ultimately, the goal is to go for y by r. Then you make it formally y of s by r of s. Okay, that's a best possible way. So now let me make the expression fully function of y and r. Okay, so this is y. So expand this, you will get 2r minus 2y. Okay, so plus you will get 4 by a square into r minus, okay, so 4 by a square into y. You will get, take all y terms to the left side. So then it is going to be y into take it now. Any mistake? Small check. I'm checking any mistake I committed. 2r minus 2y, 4 by s into r into 1 by s, 4 by s into y. Okay, fine then. So y is taken common. So that means first let me write this way. Okay, so that means I'll get, all right, I'll get y plus 2y. Okay, it's y only, right? Yes, y is equal to sum of these two signals into 1 by s. That's fine then. Okay, r minus y. Okay, fine then. So y plus 2y, y plus 2y plus 4 by s square into y. You will get, that is equal to 2 plus 4 by s square into r. Okay, right. That's it. Then yes, y plus 2y will become 3y. That's where I suspect any mistake committed. It's r minus y. So 2r minus y, 4 by s into r minus y. Okay, I'm going for y. Okay, 1 by s is there. Okay, multiplying by s. Okay, so okay, 4 by, that's fine. Okay, what is a mistake I committed here means I should multiply this by 1 by yes. Okay, so then I will do one thing. Instead of this, okay, yes, that's a small mistake. There is a small mistake. We'll correct it. So then you take this s to the left side. So you'll end up with ys, that is equal to 2 times r minus y plus 4 by s into r minus y. That's very easy. So then you will get ys is equal to 2r minus 2y plus it. In fact, this is the best route. Okay, you need not remember anything in your mind. Okay, but ensure that you don't commit any mistake in this manipulation. So then 4 by s into r minus 4 by s into y you will get. That's it. Then take all the y terms to the left side. then you will end up with the ys plus 2y, ys plus 2y plus 4 by s into y. Okay, that is equal to 2 plus 4 by s into r. Hereafter, it's only simplification. Okay. What is the equation? So take y common from this. If we take y common from this, let me write the equation once again. So it's 2y plus ys. Let me take ys plus, okay. Otherwise, yes, y also you can write, nothing wrong. S into y plus 2 into y plus 4 by s into y. That is equal to 2 plus 4 by s into r. The ultimate goal is to get y by r. Okay. So the beauty of this technique is it's very common sense. You play around the loop with the signals and you are looking for y. You start from y, play around it, bring your input also into the play, then make the simple expression, then modify this for your y by r. So then take y common, then what is the remaining? S plus 2 plus 4 by s you will get. That is equal to 2 plus 4 by s into r, then take LCM. So here LCM can be, yes, can be the LCM. So we'll end up with s square plus 2s plus 4 into what is that? Y. Okay, that is equal to, take LCM here, that is yes. So it's going to be 2s plus 4 into r. That's the beauty of this technique. Okay, so the small mistake committed in the step, okay, that has contributed for a little struggle, but still that's a wonderful route. Then s and s will get cancelled. Then you can happily go for y by r. What is y by r? Y by r is going to be 2s plus 4 divided by a square plus 2s plus 4. And this can't be exploited for all the problems. Okay, that is the only drawback of this technique. If it is a complex block diagram or a complex SFG, we can't go like this. Okay, for simple block diagrams, okay, sometimes we may feel the common sense way is rapid, or in a flash you will get the answer in a common sense way. So that's why for a simple problem I'm introducing all the techniques. So it can be SFG way, it can be the block diagram way, or it can be the common sense way. And finally make it very formally, it is going to be y of s by r of s, that is equal to 2s plus 4 by a square plus 2s plus 4. Okay, that's a way. Hope you enjoyed. Okay, the three roots. Okay, yes. Okay, that's how you have to make your preparations for any competitive examinations. Okay, yes, that's a solution for that problem. Next problem, that's from microprocessor, or extension of a digital, we can say. Number of address lines required for an 8-byte memory chip. 8 kilobyte. Okay, 8 kilobyte. So 8 kilobyte memory chip we have. So address lines needed for this. Okay, so what we have is memory chip. So it is 8 KB memory. B is the byte. Okay, so 8 KB means what we have is 8K into 8 bit, 1 byte only, right? Byte only given. Okay, so into 8 bit actually. So what we have is we have 8K memory locations. We have 8K memory locations, and each location has 8-bit data. So this is a data size. So second represents your data size. Byte is your size of the data stored in each memory location. So we have 8K memory location means, so 1K is nothing but 1024 in digital. So then 8K is nothing but, it is going to be, I can say, what does 1024 means? It's going to be 2 power 10. Then 8 means 8 is 2 power 3, and this is 2 power 10. That is nothing but, so 8K is nothing but 2 power 13 memory locations we have. So we have 2 power 13 memory locations. When we have 2 power 30 memory locations, you need 13-bit address. Simple. You need 13-bit address. Okay. Suppose if you have a microprocessor that is going to have a 16-bit address, is going to have 16-bit address. So the first 3 bits will be used for chip selection. Okay, so what are the first 3 bits? The first 3 bits will be A15, A14, and A13. Okay, they are allotted for the chip selection. Okay, and rest of them are your address line. So you need to have A12 to A0. So addressing the memory location. So the question is the number of address lines required for an 8K memory chip means only 13. Okay, is the answer. Okay, so rest of the available address, you can map it. Okay, let me talk about little extra. Okay, how we can map this location, for example. Okay, say for example, I have this memory. How we can map means, so that's what exactly we call very technically memory mapping. So problem may be extended sometimes. Okay, a problem may be for the memory mapping. So I have a chip that is 8 KB memory, maybe a read-only memory or random access memory. So 13 lines already dedicated for locating the memory locations. Okay, enabling the memory locations. What are the lines allotted already? A12 to A0 already for enabling the memory locations. Rest of them available for the chip selection of your memory. That's usually chip selection bar. Okay, so depending on what address you want, for example, so you have to go like this. You have A15, A14, A13, then A12. That is the one nibble. Okay, then you can go for A11, A10, A9, A8 is the next nibble. Okay, then you can go for A7, A6, A5, A4. That's the next nibble. Then here you will get A3, A2, A1, A0. That's the next nibble. Okay, right? Yes. So these are free now for the chip selection. Rest of them all begins with 0. That's a minimum first address of your location. Okay, that's a first address. Last address will be all ones. Okay, last address will be all ones. Okay, then you can configure. For example, if I give AND gate, okay, NAND gate. Okay, so it's going to have 3 inputs, rest of the inputs only. What are the 3 inputs? A15, A14, A13. Suppose it's up to me. If I want to configure this, okay, by using some memory, so I can some mapping. So let me say, for example, it's a NOT. Let me say it's a NOT, and then this is a 1. Okay, then this is connected to a NAND gate, and then enabling the chip selection bar means it's connected to a NAND gate, and then enabling this. Okay, so let me say this is my A15 and this is my A14 and this is my A13. So when the chip will get enabled, the chip will be enabled for the given design. So if this is 1, if this is 0, this is 0, the chip will be, there is an AND gate output will be equal to 0. Okay, because this 0 will become 1, this 0 will become 1. All the inputs of an AND gate 1 means output will be 0. Then chip is enabled, the memory is enabled. So what is the address mapping? So it's 1, 0, 0. It's 1, 0, 0. Yes, what is that? This is going to be read as 8 and this is 0, this is 0, this is 0. So that means starting address will be 8000H. Okay. Usually in 8085 we go like this. Okay, 8000H is the starting address. Okay, problem maybe what is the starting address, what is the ending address, by giving this chip selection combinational logic. Okay, for this memory. Then what is the final address? It is going to be 9 and followed by this is F, this is F, this is F. So it will be 9 triple FH will be the final address. Okay, right? So 8000H to 9 triple FH is your exactly 3 KB memory mapping. Like that, you can also expect a problem on memory mapping. But in this case, the problem is very simple. It is asking only how many address lines needed to map, okay, 8 kilobyte memory locations. That's a very simple problem. Okay. Let's get into the next problem. Yes, next problem from measuring instruments, electrical and electronic measurements. So what it is talking about, The spring controlled moving iron. So we should know a moving iron. So what is moving iron instrument? A moving iron instrument, okay, is going to produce the deflecting torque d theta that is equal to, it is proportional to what mean? D theta will be proportional to the square of your RMS current passing through the instrument. You have a moving iron instrument, okay, that is going to have a pointer and scale. So that is going to sense a current, okay, so that's a current is IRM. Current is passing through this I of t, we can say. So instantaneous current exciting the moving iron instrument, okay, so AC current, and its RMS is the I square RMS, okay, so IRMS is the current effective value, that is what getting indicated, but the deflecting torque is proportional to the I square RMS, okay. And whereas the controlling torque is going to be proportional to the theta, it is proportional to the theta, okay. So this is the spring control if we establish. So deflecting torque is due to, okay, your instrument, okay, fundamental. So there it is, the deflecting torque developed by the instrument is proportional to the I square RMS, whereas the spring control is, that's a deflecting torque, not T theta, you can call it as TD, okay, deflecting torque. It's average deflecting torque, okay. So this is your control torque. So this is deflecting torque, that's average deflecting torque acting on the moving mechanism in the moving iron instrument. And when you use a spring control, this is offering the control torque. Okay, so control torque. And finally, the torque balance equation will give theta average. The average deflection of the pointer is proportional to the I square RMS. Okay, so certain constants will come into play. So theta average is proportional to I square RMS. Okay, some meter constant will be there. So shortly, I will say that's K of the moving iron instrument shortly. Okay, right? So theta average will be equal to the I square RMS. So that's what exactly the deflection of your moving iron instrument. So theta is proportional to I square RMS. That means there exists a square law connection between the angular deflection of your pointer in the instrument and the current passing through the moving iron instrument. Okay, right? So either it is attraction type instrument or repulsion type instrument, that's the same logic. Okay, theta is proportional to this. Okay, so then how to get this, how to conclude? Okay, so what is exactly the problem with the moving iron instrument? It's a problem. It's problem is talking about, the given problem is talking about the problem associated with the moving iron instrument with respect to the scale. Okay, unlike your PMMC, the PMMC is the one going to have very uniform scale, because in PMMC the theta, it's a DC instrument where theta is proportional to the current. Okay, it can be the DC current, okay, passing through the moving coil of the PMMC. Okay, there it is, theta is proportional to I. That's why that is the only instrument having very uniform scale other than your electrodynamometer wattmeters. Electrodynamometer wattmeters also will have uniform scale. Okay, apart from voltage or current instrument, the wattmeter alone will have uniform scale apart from PMMC. Okay, right? So then rest of the instruments are not going to have the uniform scale. Reason, they have not a linear law between theta and I. Okay, it's not like y equal to mx. It's like y is equal to mx square. Whenever something is y is equal to resembling y is equal to mx square, it is going to be non-linear. The same problem the moving iron also going to suffer now. Okay, so what is the problem because of this? We'll see. So this is my current and this is my theta. I'm going for the maximum current. So current is 0. So current is the full scale. At full scale deflection current, I'm going to get theta FSD. Theta FSD. Theta will be the full scale. Now tell me what will create off scale deflection. What will create off scale deflection means off of theta FSD I need. Because 0 means it is going to be 0. 0 current, 0 amps, it's going to be 0. Its I is nothing but your RMS now, because moving iron is going to read only the RMS current. Okay, so theta FSD. What current will produce off scale deflection? That will conclude the problem. So then what is the theta? Theta is equal to what? Your moving iron instrument constant into I square RMS. Okay, so what will create off-scale deflection? So theta FSD as a result of what? IFSD. So I'm going to get off-scale deflection means I'm looking for what? Theta equal to half of theta FSD. Half of theta FSD. So what will create half of theta FSD? So K into moving ion. Okay, what is a K? So K will be equal to theta FSD divided by IFSD square. IFSD square. That's your K of the moving ion. Okay, substitute that. I want half of your full scale deflection. What current will produce half scale deflection? That's my question now. So then Ki is known. That's theta FSD divided by I square FSD. Now this is I square RMS. Now tell me theta FSD will get cancelled. Theta FSD will get cancelled. So tell me what's I square RMS needed. So I'm going to get I square RMS needed for off scale deflection is that's our I. So shortly take it as I square. That is equal to I'll get half of I square FSD. I will get. Then apply the root on both sides. The current needed for off scale deflection becomes 1 by root 2 times what? IFSD. So that's a beauty of moving ion. If you remember this logic, so the theta is proportional to I square RMS. With this, you can build and then you can justify. You need not remember everything. Okay. By practice, if you always you will be using this moving ion in the laboratory, you will straight away know the answer. So in lower scale, what is the reading, and upper scale, what is the reading? That means lower scale means closer to zero, how your scale is, and closer to full scale deflection, how your scale is, okay, right? So, but still, this is the simple mathematics connecting the twos. That means 1 by root 2 times. What is 1 by root 2? 0.707. So 0.707 times IFSD is going to create off scale deflection. Suppose if full scale deflection theta is, for example, 100-degree calibration. So this is made for 100-degree. Okay, for example, for a 100 amps current or 10 amps current, let me say. So the range of the instrument is 0 to 10 amps current. So 0 to 10 amps making 0 to 100-degree angular deflection. Assume this is your current measuring. This is the deflection of the pointer. Then 10 amps creates 100-degree means then 50-degree will be created by what current means 0.707 times your full scale current. What is that? 7.07 amps is going to give 50-degree. So what's your calibration then for the instrument? So the instrument will have the calibration like this one, right? So let this is your full scale. This is your, okay, 0-degree. This is your 0 amps, you will say. This is your 10 amps, you will say. Okay, this is 0-degree and this is 100-degree. But the 50-degree mark, what is your current? You're not going to make 5 amps. Usually expected is 5 amps, but instead of that, you're going to mark 7.07 amps. Now you see, so this 50-degree allotted for this 50-degree, this is 50-degree mark. Okay, that's a theta. This is where the pointer is going to deflect. Okay, that's a moving mechanism. And this is where the pointer is going to deflect. Okay, that's a pointer reading. Okay, so now this 50-degree is allotted for 7.07. This 50-degree allotted for remaining. What is the change actually? 2.93 amps. For 2.93 amps, you are using 50-degree here. For 7.07, you are using the 50-degree here. So where the scale will be cramped? So the scale will be cramped in the lower. So because you have to mark more readings in the lower scale, you have to mark less reading in the higher scale, mean this is going to be expanded. Okay, that's a fundamental of moving ion calibration. So it's a cramped scale towards 0 and expanded scale towards full scale. So that's your answer. Okay, so hope you understood then. And that's a way. Okay, once you know this fundamental, then the problem is straightforward. Yes. So what's your right answer? That's talking about the nature of moving ion. So cramped at the lower and expanded at the upper will be the right answer. Okay. because in 50 degree you have to accommodate more readings, in another 50 degree you have to accommodate less readings, so the scale will become like this. Okay, the scale will become like this. You can see, okay, that's a calibration for the moving iron. So it will be like this, then slowly it will get expanded. It will be like, it will be get expanded as you move towards your full scale deflection. So this is your theta FSD, and this is the zero scale deflection. This is full scale deflection. Yes. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this content. Do subscribe. Okay, we'll update you with the next video soon. Thank you.